there, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of TA with MK. My name is MK. I apologize for the fan that you can probably hear running in the background, but my man cave slash office just gets a little bit too muggy and hot and humid. I don't have AC out here in this room yet. I should have probably put something out here for the summer, but anyways. And the time I'm making this video, today's just been a hot day, and I needed some air to keep myself from sweating profusely on camera. So anyways, in today's video I just want to give a quick follow-up again on the coin Polkadot. We've been talking about quite a bit recently on the channel, as it is showing signs of potentially breaking and retesting the zone that I most recently spoke about in my last DOT video, which I'll leave a link in the description for, that and the other 2 or 3 before that, where we've been kind of tracking DOT ever since my original entry at the 825 breakout. So we're going to talk about that a little bit in today's video, kind of if I were to be entering brand new, at this level, where would my stop loss be? What would I be looking for targets? Things like that. So if that sounds interesting to you, please, as always, remember to like and subscribe. Let's go. It's TA with MK. It's TA with MK. Now, the first thing I wanted to quickly mention before we jump over to the actual DOT daily chart, because there's not a whole lot I really want to say about that, and it shouldn't take me more than about 2 or 3 minutes to go over, is just that we're at a higher risk area right now to me as far as opening a new trade. I want to be very upfront about that, and here's why. This is the S&P 500 or the SPX, and as you can see, this zone that I've been talking about on the channel for weeks, honestly, as far as being a zone that I assumed, or TA suggested that it should reach at some point. It has, and it's contending with that zone. Now, it did wick above it earlier today, but it closed below it. That's this zone of red on my chart resistance. And really, before I would feel confident that Bitcoin and altcoins are going to go higher, this really does need to break above this zone and close its daily above it, or at least on top of it. And then at that point, I think we would get this push back up here to this trend line I spoke about in a recent video. And at that point, of course, Bitcoin would then have the juice, I would assume, to break 25K, maybe even go to 26K, maybe even a little bit higher, depending on how long and how bullish this stays. But that would be my major level where I would start considering taking profits. But even at this point, we could retrace. We're definitely overbought or overextended on a lot of the indicators. I'm not going to talk about those on today's video or in today's video, but just know that as we get to DOT and I start giving my analysis on it, that take it with a grain of salt, and if it's something you potentially look to enter based on what I talk about today, keep in mind that it will get drugged down if this retraces, or at least most likely, since they're so highly correlated. It doesn't mean that it has to, but it most likely would, right? Anytime the traditional stocks are pulling back, Bitcoin, altcoins by association are going to pull back. So I would feel more confident if this broke out, but if and retest. But if it does, you would potentially miss some of the move. But as far as a risk to reward, situation, it's far riskier to enter while this is still at resistance in my eyes. Now, could it just pull back a little bit, retest the bottom of this box, then break out? Sure, but even then you might get a little bit lower entry on DOT. So anyway, I just wanted to quickly cover that, and then now we can hop over to the DOT chart. All right, and that brings us over to the DOT daily chart. And this is actually something that I just posted in my Telegram group, which, as per usual, there is a link in the description. If that's something you're interested in joining, it's completely free, and we talk about, things throughout the day, go over charts. Anytime I'm entering a coin, I go over my entries. I've been a little less active this past week. I was out of town for a few days, and then the last few days I've just been incredibly busy around the house. But typically I'm, very active in there, posting charts and coins that I'm looking at, and if I enter, and all the kind of stuff that I talk about on the channel, but just a little more up to date. So anyway, consider clicking that link and joining us over there. The community's been slowly growing, so we'd like to continue to see that happen. So anyway, so this is what I posted in there. I posted this chart, and I put, this actually fits my daily breakout criteria. As far as daily candles go, the first break candle closed above the break zone. So this was the break zone I talked about in my last video, which was between 9:20 and about 9:30. I think in the video I spoke about 9:25-ish, basically. But it's, this box that I have here, which you can clearly see the bottom side of this box, this red zone here, is 9:20, and the top, which is resistance, is about 9:35. Now, my criteria, and of course this varies depending on the time frame and how aggressive I'm being, but as far as a daily entry, meaning that I'm looking at a zone that I consider daily resistance in this case, to consider it a break retest. Now this is still aggressive because the more candles that close above, the better. But as far as an aggressive entry, my criteria is I want to see the breakout candle, which would be this left one in this case, this big green candle. I want to see that break above the resistance and close the body of the candle, not just a wick, but the full body above. Now this body of this candle broke above and actually closed at, it looks like 952. And then I want the second or the following daily candle to retest the zone, which this did come all the way back down and retest, and then I want it to close the body of that above the zone, or as well, and not just wick down below or whatever. I want it to be above. And in this case, the body of this candle that just closed a few hours ago closed at exactly 920. So this would be what I would consider an aggressive entry. I'm already in the coin, as I spoke about in the last video. Down at 825 was my entry. My stop loss is now at 873. I bumped it up into profits, and we've been kind of just speaking about these other entry options ever since. But at any rate, if I were to be entering the coin now, your risk to reward, unless Bitcoin decides to go up to 30,000 or something, your risk to reward isn't as good as it was down there. But if it is something you still are interested in, or it fits your risk management profile or strategies, this is what I would be looking at. I would potentially I would go into like a 4 hour, something like this. I'd switch it over to say like the 4 hour, and I would start looking to see if you can get 2 or 3 straight body of candles to close above. Now this one that followed after the first candle after the daily closed, actually looks like it closed a little bit lower. No, closed right at 920. Okay, so if this body of this candle can close above, followed by the next one, so maybe over the next this one still has an hour, so maybe over the next 5 hours, 4 probably ish from the time I post this video, so another full candle were to close above, then at that point I would zoom into something like the 15 minutes and just start looking for breakout patterns, something like a falling wedge, right? This is something we speak about on the channel all the time, but these are patterns that have a higher likelihood of breaking to the upside. Something like this I can kind of see already on the 15-minute little falling wedge. So if the 4 hour candles continue to do all right, well then you'd kind of you'd zoom into here, and as soon as you saw a break and a retest of this, something like that, you could enter, and then at that point, we'd go back out to the daily once you've entered, and you would start looking at areas to put your stop loss. Now, because this is a higher risk trade, and if the market were to turn over and decide to have a healthy retrace, I wouldn't really want to be in this coin if it's going to lose, say, the $9 area. So I would look back down here just below $9, maybe something around, we'll just say like $8.90, maybe like $8.87, something in that range. Because if we lose that support there of $9, well, especially my zone of 920, I could see us losing 920 and, testing $9 again just because it's an even number. But if we lose $9, then I would expect us most likely to break out of this little rising, wedge that I've kind of drawn on the chart. And it doesn't mean we'd go down to this measured move that I've put, but we definitely would see a retrace, at least back probably to $8 and, say 50 cents, something like that, maybe even a little bit lower. So that's kind of the way that I would look to play it. Again, there'll be the link in the description for my Telegram group. To be upfront and transparent, I haven't added anything to my position yet. I spoke about in the last video that I actually closed half of my position at $9.60, bumped my stop loss for the other half up to $8.73, and now I'm just kind of waiting my targets, which will still be the same for that other half, and I may look to enter a little more in this depending on what Bitcoin does over the next 4 to 8 hours, or at least by tomorrow, and the S&P 500 opens. If it is able to break through resistance, then I almost certainly will add to this position. But at any rate, the first target, which I spoke about in length on multiple videos, is just under $10. I kind of front ran that at $9.60 just because things were getting overextended. I wanted to make sure I did lock in some profits, but I do have the other half still floating. And that would be the first area I would look to potentially, close a little bit more, or at the very least bump my stop loss up some more. If we hit $10, then I'm most definitely bumping my stop loss up to like $9.20 at that point. And then the target beyond that, if Bitcoin were to really break out, and when I say break out, I mean break above 25K and hold, which means, in my opinion, we're going to go to at least 25.5, 26, maybe even higher, then I would expect DOT to potentially run all the way up here to something like $11. Now, we talked about that in the last video. I have a measured move up here of actually $12. I don't know that we'd reach that, to be honest with you, unless Bitcoin's going to go up to 28 or 29K or something. But I would expect this to at least go up to around the $11 area. So At any rate, just wanted to give you guys that quick update on DOT, so keep a close eye on it. And here's if you want to take a screenshot of this is kind of the levels I'm watching for, as well as my targets. And that is it for today, my friends. You guys try to stay cool if it's as hot where you are as it is where I am. And as always, if you're enjoying the content, please remember to like and subscribe. We'll catch you tomorrow. It's